Hey, Suzanne Caldeira here with Guaranteed Rate. This part of my page is where I get to interview and talk to some really cool local people that can maybe be a resource for you in your business and just kind of get to know them a little bit better. And I've got Pecukonis with me, who is the man behind a lot of my videos and puts all the cool graphics behind them and helps with the squirrels that we all are, so that hopefully we get you to sit and watch them. But thanks for being on here and letting me pick your brain and talk to you a little bit.
Yeah, it's no problem. I always enjoy talking to people in your position who are looking to do video work, which is what I do. And I'm interested in listening to some of the reasons why you thought that, video was an avenue that you wanted to take, because video nowadays, especially in the pandemic, has been really important for a lot of people to still be able to connect to their clients. And obviously we do these interviews through Zoom. So, being able to take the videos and then being able to repurpose them has been really important for a lot of people that I've noticed.
When you bring that out and say why the videos, I kind of had this vision of having a way like where, especially on the mortgage process, like having a spot where people can get a lot of their questions answered, or for the positivity stuff, like meet people that I've had like amazing conversations with, or I've followed on YouTube or on LinkedIn, and I'm like, man, this person's so cool. I would love to talk to them, and it's just part of my curiosity. So that's been my thing. And then getting a chance to meet you and see like how talented you are, and where I can just send you a video and you're like, oh, this little thing should go there or that should go there. Like, I want to throw this back to you and be like, how did you get into this? Like, how did you know, like, I want to do this? Because there's so many ways you probably could have gone with doing video, right?
Yeah, and it goes all the way back to, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade, when, I don't know if you had this, but when I went to school, we did a weekly news kind of segment that we would show the entire school, and I was the anchor of that. So I've always been interested in the television world, actually, in general. So then I went to a vocational school where I did a lot of the video stuff for 4 years. And then I went to college and, kept growing my knowledge, and just knew that this was what I wanted to do, because it's such a cool field to be able to say, yeah, what do I do for a living? I'm a video producer, I'm a videographer, I'm a video editor, I work in television and all this kind of stuff. So I was able to dab into a little bit of each part of the, I guess you could say, video production world, right? So there's television. I worked at a news station when I lived in San Diego, and that was a nightmare. Underpaid, overworked, classic bureaucracy nonsense that you had to deal with, right? And then I did the corporate stuff, which didn't go nearly as well as I hoped. And then, I started to do some stuff with podcasts and real estate folks like yourself. And that really seemed to be a sweet spot where there was a lot of demand, but a lot of people didn't know what they wanted. I was able to figure out my own thing, and that's what I'm doing now with my company, Clear Signal Productions, is a lot of podcast work, a lot of help for small business people and people looking to increase their exposure online. And I like to have the satisfaction of being able to help somebody like you be able to get a client from something that I did, and having them reference a video, that makes what I do satisfying. And I like doing that compared to, creating something for a children's YouTube channel, which is what I used to do. The channel had 3 million subscribers, and I was the most unhappy person at that YouTube channel. So it's one of those things where, success necessarily doesn't mean happiness. And it's weird that being that young and understanding that it's a bit eye-opening. So I feel like I'm able to take an extra step forward and be like, you know what, this is what I want to do. How do I make it work? And especially in my field where it's just so saturated, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of people who graduate in my field in college, and I don't know, maybe 5% of them actually go into the field and are actually able to get jobs and all of this kind of stuff. and the rest of them just kind of go into whatever else. And I think a lot of that is just with the way college is set up nowadays too. But yeah, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do video stuff. It's always been the most interesting thing to me. I've been good at it and I like to do it. So why not try to figure out a way to implement it into my life and create a lifestyle that I want?
Kind of fascinating that you found that you reached that point where there was success with YouTube, but you weren't happy.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks, right?
It really, it's weird because the people I worked with were great, but the content that I was creating wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, and the leadership wasn't necessarily letting me do what I did best. It was definitely another underpaid, overworked scenario, which is something that's common, especially with a lot of people coming out of college nowadays. I feel like a lot of them are getting severely undercut when it comes to what their worth is at a company. And I see it with my friends. And it's an interesting perspective to have as a millennial of, you know, the way that we are treated coming out of college with all of this education, but we're not given the opportunity to show what we can do. We're stuck in these little, more or less aid-like jobs, just waiting for our opportunity, just twiddling our thumbs. Meanwhile, the world is getting more expensive and we're supposed to be getting married, having kids and all of this kind of stuff, right? But we can't when we're making 15 an hour until we're 30. So it's just one of those things that sometimes you have to carve your own path to be able to find your own happiness, and that's what I'm trying to do here.
Do you think that you know, and sometimes I hate the word millennial because I think you're just generalizing and you're being biased and you're just putting people in one bucket.
Right.
But do you think that you guys have been sold like the wrong bag of goods? Like, I know in my life, and I didn't take the normal path, but it was instilled in my brain. Go to school, stay at a job a long time, get retirement, and that's it. And that, you know, I didn't follow that path. Although I did follow the path of staying at jobs a long time. But trying to phrase this in the right way, but that bag of goods of like, if you go to school, you'll get this. Like sometimes I've been around people that have no education that are some of the most inspiring and dynamic people that I've ever met. And then I've also seen people that go to school and almost feel like that entitlement of, hey, because I have this degree, where's my $100,000 job right now?
I completely agree. When I have children, I'm not necessarily going to sell them on the idea of going to college, unless it's something that they necessarily want to do or need to go to college for, right? Like, for instance, in my field, going to college is great to gain a lot of knowledge about how certain things work. Could I have learned that in the field for the 4 years and made money doing it instead? Absolutely. I could have worked at a TV station as a PA, production assistant, and worked my way up into director and producer and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't have needed a college education. And I feel like a lot of kids are sold that idea. You need to go to college in order to be able to get a certain job, like you said. And it's something that I've thought about a lot, is why, there's especially a lot of a shortage when it comes to skilled labor nowadays that I've noticed. And to be able to get an appliance fixed, your car fixed, anything like that nowadays is incredibly difficult and takes a long time. You have to wait for them to be available. So I think the world needs more of those kinds of jobs and the skill sets to be able to balance it all out when you have all of these math and English majors coming out of college and they don't even know what to do and they're just working at Target. You know, how is that benefiting them by getting $50,000 in debt and then paying them 15 an hour? I just don't see how it's beneficial.
You have an entrepreneurial brain, and you figured out how to go in that path instead of saying like, okay, I'll stay at this job and just kind of suck it up. What got you involved with people in my profession, real estate mortgage people?
So when I was in San Diego, I worked for a company called the Real Estate Radio Network, and that's actually where I met Emilio.
Okay.
I started doing his radio shows 5 years ago, or something like 5 years ago, when I was out in San Diego. And I had a bunch of clients that were doing radio shows, and what we would do is we would market to realtors and mortgage professionals and anybody in the field interested in having a radio show, getting them on air, teaching them how to shoot so that they could send me the footage, and then I cut it up and pretty much do what I do now. So that's where I got that experience and that taste of, hey, this could be something that could work. But unfortunately, the circumstances in that place fell apart very quickly. The company went under. The boss actually ended up committing suicide later on. So that's something that weighs heavy on my mind often, is the fact that I worked for this guy for 2 years, got to know him, got to know his kids, his wife, and all of a sudden, before I know it, he's divorced and now he's gone. And he was somebody that I really looked up to because he had all of the success and he really believed in me. And it was like the first time that I had somebody in this field actually be like, you know what, I'm going to trust your opinion on this. And that gave me such a great feeling in the heart. That's where it hits you. So, and my other jobs just never gave me that feeling. So I was like, you know what, I got to find it myself.
Yeah, it's different when it's job and vocation are two separate things. It's different when it's your vocation, when it's your passion. I love how you said that, and I'm sorry about the loss. That must have been so terrible. But when you said how he believed in you, I've been attempting to get my former boss, who believed in me when I was just, and you'll have to bleep this out, or now you can keep it. It's my video, a complete shit show, and didn't let me quit, and just believed in me when I kept messing up over and over and over and over again. And I love that, and I love what he did for you. So that must have been hard.
It is hard, but I learned a lot from that job in particular and from him, and how that when I eventually can get big enough to hire people, how I want to be able to treat my employees and all of this kind of stuff. Because obviously that's the goal, right? The goal is to be able to say on a Tuesday in the summer, hey, it's a nice day, let's go to the beach, and just let the company run itself, right? So that's kind of the end goal, and I want to be able to treat everybody fairly. And I feel like that's something that is missing in the world today, is fairness as well as compromise.
Yeah, and I think too, letting your people be people, right? Because they're going to have family stuff, they're going to have things that come up, but just allowing them to do that. So you're going to be on my page to perpetuity forever on YouTube here. So if someone clicks on this, what's that favorite type of client or that favorite type of project?
That's a good question, because I've done a lot of interview stuff. I've done, like I said, I do a lot of podcasts and radio shows and stuff. And being able to do the editing for podcasts and stuff allows me to learn a lot from them, because obviously I have to listen to them in order to cut it up properly. So I really do enjoy the longer format videos, and then being able to produce it in a certain way that they would like fit, because there's a lot of different ways you can produce things to be successful. It's interesting what you can do with video. And I think that's something that not a lot of people can really grasp, is like the different types of videos and how you can have success with all different types if you utilize it properly. But my favorite kind of client, I would say, would be people who have podcasts or would be interested in podcasts, and being able to guide them through that way, because having a podcast is a great way to be able to get your name out in all sorts of different platforms.
I think what makes you really good at what you do, what I've seen, is you seem to have a natural curiosity, because I had spoken to another video guy prior to you, gave my ideas, and I had seen his stuff socially thinking, wow, this person would be awesome. The graphics are great. What he does is great. And he's like, I don't think I can do this. I don't understand what you need. But yet I had that short conversation with you. And then from there, like, I hardly interact with you. You know, you do the video, it gets done, and that's it. And I just, have you always been this curious?
I like the details and things and being able to understand how an entire process works from beginning to end and the little things that make certain things interact. So I've been very curious about that, and I love learning. So that was one thing. It's funny, I like learning, but I hate the thought of school and having to go back to school or anything like that. What you actually need to learn, they don't teach you, and you have to learn the hard way, which is what I've also done, unfortunately, by going out on my own, is learning a lot of what is it actually like to be an entrepreneur and trying to, you know, become successful by yourself and not necessarily having to rely on a company and getting in and working your way up the corporate ladder and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you and I are very similar in that. I was terrible in school, and then get into this industry and absolutely love it. And if I'm immersing myself in my industry and learning and spend a few hours doing that, it's great. But if it's the thought of having to go back and sit behind a desk would probably not be a good thing. Well, I'm glad we got to pick your brain and get to know you a little better. Besides our little interactions when you're doing your editing and stuff, and I hope people reach out to you because you've got so much talent. So thank you for letting me have a little chat with you.